Hey guys, and today we're going to be doing a 2021 Seattle mock draft. So this is my 100th video, and hopefully this can get a lot of views like my top 10 overall mock draft did. So I'm just going to be saying the player from the team, and I did this using Cap Friendly. So thanks to the people at Cap Friendly for making this expansion draft simulator. And so first off, from the Anaheim Ducks, Seattle's going to take center Adam Henrique, and this is just my guess. And he signed for $5.825 million through the 2023 to 24 season, and he's 31. And I'm not sure, they could take a defenseman from Anaheim, but Henrique had an awesome performance at the World Championships, so I feel like they might want to take him. And then next up in the Arizona Coyotes, I have them selecting winger Christian Fischer, who's 24, and he's getting paid $1 million next season. Then he's an RFA. So Fischer he's a pretty good player, so I feel like Seattle will want young players on like cheap contracts. So now on to Boston. I have them taking defenseman Jeremy Lauzon, who's 24 and signed through 2021 to 22 at $850,000. Then he's an RFA. And this is the first defenseman that I have them taking, but Lauzon he might turn out into be something pretty good. I think he was a first-round pick the year when Boston had 3 straight first-round picks, but he's still pretty decent. He played most of the season on Boston, so hopefully he can turn out good for Seattle. And then from Buffalo, I have them selecting defenseman Jake McCabe, because I actually only have them taking 9 defensemen. I just came back after I was done all the teams. I wasn't sure who they would take from Buffalo, and I just had them take Jake McCabe because he's decent, but he did miss the whole season from injury, and he's an RFA, so they might not be able to re-sign him. And you might not believe this, but after all these contracts, Seattle's cap hit is almost $76 million, so they'll only have like $5 million, but that's if they go with all these. I'm not expecting nearly all these to be right. I'm just hoping like maybe half of them. So now from Calgary, I have them selecting Mark Giordano. He's 37 and he's getting paid $6.75 million next season, but he won the Norris just a couple seasons ago. Most people are having them take Mark Giordano, but they could take a forward if they wanted to because of his expensive cap hit and the fact that he's 37. So now from Carolina, I have them taking defenseman Jake Bean, who is an RFA, so they have to re-sign him as well, but I don't know, they might not have to pay much for him. He's 23 and he's pretty good. And now from Chicago, I have them taking another defenseman, Calvin DeHaan, who's 30 and getting paid $4.5 million next season. They could take another defenseman from Chicago as well, but DeHaan he's pretty decent still. So, like I said, I'm not going to get all these right probably, but yeah, Chicago's one of them where I'm kind of feeling eh. And then from Colorado, I have them taking forward Jonas Donskoy, who's 29 and signed at $3.9 million for the next 2 seasons. And Calvin DeHaan was actually signed just through next season. So Jonas Donskoy is a pretty good sniper. He can play probably top 2 or 3rd line, or whatever you want for him, but he's only 29. He's pretty good, so I have them taking Jonas Donskoy. And now from Columbus, I have them taking right wing Kevin Stenlund, who's 24 and signed at $1,050,000 next season. So he's also okay, I guess. He is, I think he's like a checking winger, and he played most of last season on Columbus, so hopefully he can be like a decent AHLer for them or move up into the NHL in a couple of seasons. Now from Dallas, I have them taking goalie Ben Bishop. I don't think a lot of people are going with Ben Bishop, but he's received many Vezina votes and he's signed under $5 million for the next 2 seasons. So he could be their starter, but maybe 1B or 1A, depending on who the next goalie that I have them taking is, or the next NHL goalie, but I'm not sure right now. But yeah, Ben Bishop is really good. He was injured though, so hopefully he can play, and he's 34, signed for the next 2 seasons. And now from Detroit, I have them taking defenseman Troy Stecher. It kind of shocked me when it said they were protecting Gustav Lindstrom because Troy Stecher was so good. He signed at only $1.7 million for next season. I feel like Detroit should have protected Stecher, let them take Lindstrom. Then if they want Stecher, then they can trade Stecher away for draft picks and Lindstrom if they want him so badly. But Stetcher's really good, or he's a pretty good defenseman, so hopefully he does well in Seattle. I feel like that's what most people have Seattle taking because, I don't know, he's good, but they could take Evgeny Svechnikov or Vladislav Nemesnikov. But now on to Edmonton, I have them taking left wing Tyler Benson, who is an RFA. And he's 23, so he's a pretty decent prospect. So hopefully, like Seattle wants at least a couple of prospects to have. And now for Florida, I have them taking forward Ryan Lomberg, who's 26 and signed at $725,000. I originally had them taking Frank Vetrano, but he's kind of older. So Lomberg is pretty decent as well. And now for LA, they're going to take defenseman Kale Clegg, who's 23 and an RFA. So Clegg is good, I guess. He's a decent prospect, and he could be a future top pair defenseman for Seattle. And now for Minnesota, I have them taking goalie Kaapo Kähkönen. So basically, a lot of people thought whichever goalie Minnesota didn't protect, Seattle was going to take because it was either Kaapo Kähkönen or Cam Talbot. And Kähkönen could play in the NHL if they want, and they could just not draft one of the Bishop or the other goalie, NHL level goalie that I have. Or older goalie, I guess. And he's 24, signed it next season for $725,000. So he's a really good goalie, and hopefully he does well in Seattle. So now originally I had Seattle take Jonathan Drouin, but now I have them taking Thomas Tatar, who's 30 and a UFA. Hopefully he doesn't want to get paid much because if they go with this roster, then they won't have a lot of cap space. Yeah, I just swapped him out really for Drouin because Drouin will be more to pay probably and stuff like that, and I mean Drouin is younger, so they could go with Drouin, but Tatar's 30. He's probably upset at the Canadians for them not playing him basically most of the playoffs, so hopefully Seattle gives him a lot of play time, so then he'll be happy and maybe he'll want to take a less expensive contract. So now from Nashville, I have them taking forward Rocco Grimaldi, who's pretty decent. He's 28 and signed it next season for $2 million. So there aren't a lot of good choices considering that I already have a bunch of cap here. I mean, they could go with Duchesne or Johansson. There might be a side trade involved here. So if not, I feel like Grimaldi's pretty good. He's not gonna get you a bunch of points, I guess. I didn't really watch him play a bunch. He can check, I think, and stuff like that. So yeah, there weren't a lot of super good choices other than expensive players for Nashville. So now for New Jersey, I have them taking defenseman Will Butcher. I originally had them take PK Subban, but like with other players, I was already over the cap. Here, so Will Butcher's 26. He signed it next season for $3,733,333. So that's pretty good for a young defenseman like Will Butcher. They could take somebody else if they want. Not sure here. And if they can take different players that are less expensive, then they might get PK Subban and take a gamble on him. Okay, now for, let's see, the Islanders, I have them taking winger Josh Bailey, who's 31, and he's signed through 2023 to 24 at $5 million. So it came down really to me. I feel like they need a couple good wingers, like at least 2 or 3 right now, and it came down to Josh Bailey or Jordan Eberle, and Bailey's $5 million or $500,000 less, and he sometimes plays like he was super good the past couple of playoffs, so Seattle might want that if they're trying to make a playoff push in their first season, to actually have some players with playoff experience. Now for the Rangers, I have them taking right wing Julien Gauthier. He's pretty good. He's only 23, and he signed it next season for $775,000. And I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about him. He's a good prospect. He might play top 2 line, like a top 9 or top 6 forward eventually when he's older. And now for let's see, Ottawa Senators, I have them taking Evgeny Dadonov. They could take a different player here, but he's 32 and he signed through 2022 to 23 at $5 million. I feel like they could easily choose somebody else here because I already have them taking a bunch of expensive forwards. In fact, I have them taking 6 players already who have a $5 million cap hit, and 5 of those players are forwards or $5 million or over. So they could take somebody else here, but Dadonov, I don't know why Ottawa. I guess they thought that Seattle wouldn't take him. They chose to protect Austin Watson over him. Yeah, so I'm not very confident in that pick, but they could take somebody else. Let's see. Who else could they take from Ottawa? Let's check. They could take. Just scrolling down here on Cap Friendly. They could take. If they want, Ryan Dzingel, Chris Tierney, Vitaly Abramov, Clark Bishop. Most of the other players are kind of but I feel like Clark Bishop would also be a really good choice for Ottawa because he's like $4 million, or for Seattle because he's $4 million cheaper and he can check and stuff, and he's a good prospect. So now on to Philadelphia. I have them taking left wing James Van Riemsdyk, and Van Riemsdyk can put the puck in the net. He stands in front of the net kind of, and he can tip pucks in. And Seattle will probably need a player like that. He could play on their top line if they want. And I mean, they could take Jacob Voracek if they want. Now for Pittsburgh, I have them Seattle taking Jason Zucker. So Pittsburgh traded a first-round pick to get Jason Zucker, and he hasn't been playing super well for Pittsburgh, so I feel like a fresh start in Seattle would be nice. He's 29 and signed for $5 million. He's 29, signed for $5.5 million through the 2022 to 23 season. James Van Riemsdyk is also signed for 2022 to 23. So now for the next team, San Jose. I have them taking Dylan Gambrell, which a lot of people have Seattle taking. He's a good young centerman. He plays in the NHL, but that's not a lot considering he's on San Jose, and he gets paid $1.1 million next season. So he might turn out to be something for Seattle, and I think he also is from Washington. So then they can have a hometown player. Now for St. Louis, I have them taking defenseman Vince Dunn. They could take a gamble on Vladimir Tarasenko, but Vince Dunn is only 24. He's a defenseman. He's an RFA, so they might need to sign him for a lot. But a lot people were like saying St. Louis was trying to trade him, and they didn't end up trading him. So let's see if Seattle can get him a good contract. So now for Tampa Bay, I feel like this one, a lot of people are talking about a side deal where Seattle acquires it like a top player, Andre Palat, Alex Killorn, Tyler Johnson, Blake Coleman, Yanni Gourde, Alex Killorn, Andre Palat, Blake Coleman, in addition to taking on Tyler Johnson's contract. But for right now, I have them taking Alex Killorn. A lot of people might be thinking Palat or Gourde too, but Killorn is $1 million under Palat's cap hit at $4.45 million, or almost $1 million under. And he's signed through the 2022 to 23 season, and he can play in all positions. He can play top line, he can play second or third line if you want him to. He can play power play, he can play penalty kill. And he is he's 31, so kind of a veteran presence for Seattle, and he's also won the Cup twice now, so hopefully he can. I knew that Tampa Bay would lose a good player, so hopefully they can win the Cup next year too. And now for Toronto, I have them taking Alex Kerfoot. So I feel like they got Jared McCann to replace Kerfoot or to bait Seattle into taking McCann, but Kerfoot, I still have them taking him. He's $3.5 million through the 2022 to 23 season, and he's only 26. And kind of like Killorn, but he doesn't have as much offensive upside, but he can play on any line that you want him to. Power play, penalty kill. And now for Vancouver, a lot of people are starting to pick Holtby, which is who I went with. He's 31 and he's paid $4.3 million the next season. And if this works out, then he could be a good goalie tandem with Ben Bishop. And if he's not playing up to Seattle's expectations, then they could trade him away for assets and get Kaapo Kähkönen more playing time in the NHL. So now for Washington, I have taking Vitek Vanacek. And he's 25 and he's paid $716,667 million next season. And he's a good young goalie. He played a ton this season for Washington while Samsonov was out, and he was really good for them. Most nights he was anyways. So hopefully he can do good in Seattle. And then for Winnipeg, I have them taking Seattle taking Mason Appleton. So a lot of people are also picking Appleton to take him because he's so good. He's not like elite, but he's only 25 and he's paid $900,000 next season, and he can play on. He did a bunch of stuff on Winnipeg, a bunch of good stuff last season on Winnipeg. So yeah, guys, that concludes the mock draft. So in total, they have 4 goalies, 9 defensemen, 17 forwards. The cap hit is $75,966,666, and then they only have $5,533,334 in cap space remaining. So I feel like they won't make all those picks, but I feel like I could get at least 10 right out of this. And thanks for watching again, guys. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this mock draft, and I'll keep making more hockey talk videos. And bye. Yee.